Witchery is probably one of the greatest Minecraft mods of all time. People have opined for a spiritual successor for this mod ever since the old mod's creator disappeared off the face of the earth, never to be heard from again. There's been many different attempts, one literally being Witchery Remake, another being Bewitchment, that have all tried, to one extent or another, to recreate the mod in a spiritual sense while throwing in their own ideas. A new entry into this attempt to redo the mod is Enchanted Witchcraft, a mod by favorite lists. We are doing this showcase on Minecraft version 1.19.2 Java edition with Forge. I appreciate it being Forge, as Bewitchment switched to Fabric, and that causes all sorts of problems. This mod is very, very close to Witchery. It is one of the closest to Witchery I've come across so far. It hasn't deviated yet into its own creativity and trying to find its own identity, and instead has just really stuck to recreating a lot of the feel that was there in the original Witchery, while still being a little bit different than what it was. As I don't know if you could even do it the way it was in this day and age, and maybe that's for the best. To start off with, we have the Herbology book on Witchcraft. This requires ink sac, book, feather, poppy, and dandelion to make. Fairly simple recipe to go through, and it gives you the starting out bits of the Witchcraft. Herbology tells you about the plants and how to get them. Now, for those of you who don't know how to read, don't like reading, or just want to watch it in video format, allow me explain it to you. So the very start is you want to get seeds. You want to get the seeds that the mod adds. To get these seeds, you have to break tall grass. Ordinary grass does not cut it. It has to be tall grass to get the seeds. When you break enough tall grass, every once in a while, you'll either get a water artichoke seed, a belladonna, mandrake, snowbell, wolfbane, or garlic. These can all be planted in the normal fashion, besides the water artichoke, which has to be planted in water to grow. Once they are planted, they'll grow at a fairly normal rate, and when they are fully grown, they can be harvested by punching them to get the seeds and the flowers out of them. Mandrake, however, will spawn a horrible little creature that screams hurt you, and you have to beat it in ritual combat. There's a solution to this screaming, and that is earmuffs, which are fairly simple to make, just requiring leather helmet, iron, and wool. And this makes it so the mandrake screams no longer cause damage, and you can safely murder it. Once killed, it will give you both mandrake root and mandrake seeds, so it is a bit of a trial to get to if you're not prepared for it. Wolfsbane gives you wolfsbane flower, and garlic will give you more garlic, which you can plant. Can't eat garlic, which is a bit of a shame. I think garlic should be eaten and enjoyed. And the water artichoke can be eaten, however. Does give you hunger, though. Well, anyways, let's stop making me appear like I don't know what I'm talking about and get back to what I do know. Next thing we're going to do, so you've gotten the seeds, you've gotten the magic plants. So next we are going to make the Arthana. The Arthana is made with emeralds, gold, and a stick, and this is your monster harvesting little knife. Its damage is okay, and the main use for it is you kill very specific creatures, such as wolves with it, and that will have a chance of them dropping a dog's tongue. If you kill a creeper with it, the creeper may drop its creeper heart, and if you kill a bat with it, which I'm not going to even try, you can get bat wool out of the deal. These are all ingredients that you may or may not use in the future. You will not be using these ingredients for the next book, but you will be using the belladonna flower, which combined with coal, ink, book, and feather will make the extraction book. This book covers details on collecting fumes and distilling. To start off with, you will be making the witch's oven. That is just iron and iron bars. A kind of commonality across all the different mods that have done this. You always need the witch's oven with the iron bars, which is an interesting take on the idea. The witch's oven to operate will also require clay jars. Now, clay jars are started by making them soft, and then you cook them and they become normal clay jars. You then put these clay jars in the bottom left slot of the witch's oven, you give it a fuel source, and then you put basically whatever you want in there, and hopefully it'll give you a favorable result. It cannot smelt metals, but it can cook food, and if you do cook food with it, it'll give you the cooked food. Now, if you instead choose to cook saplings with it, let's say, you will get birch saplings, you'll get wood ash, and you should, every once in a while, get the byproduct as well of Breath of Goddess. Now, each thing you cook in there can give you the byproduct of one of these little clay jars. So, birch sapling gives you Breath of the Goddess. Oak sapling gives you Exhale of the Horned One. Normal logs will give you foul fumes, as well as food will give you foul fumes. And finally, spruce saplings will give you Hint of Rebirth. The chances of getting these is low, so you can increase these chances by attaching fuel funnels to the witch's oven. The fuel funnel is made with blocks of iron, iron bars, glowstone, whole lot of buckets, one of them being filled with lava, and you can either place it on the sides of a witch's oven or on top of it. You can have up to 3 of them connected to it in this pattern here, and this will greatly increase the chances of you getting one of these jars out of the deal and not just the cooked product. With Exhale of the Horned One plus Belladonna and the book configuration, we can get the Witchcraft book on brewing. Brewing covers making magic potions and various things to that nature. Now, to even start brewing, we will need the Witch's Cauldron. To do that, we need to take water artichoke seeds, mandrake seeds, belladonna seeds, and snowbell seeds. We combine those all together in this pattern here, and that will give us anointing paste. Anointing paste is then taken and just right-clicked onto an ordinary cauldron that is not filled with water. This will turn it into a witch's cauldron. The witch's cauldron then needs a source of heat underneath it, and it needs to be filled with water. It can take 3 buckets of water to fill the cauldron. Once you have the adequate heat source, the water will start bubbling and smoke will be coming out of it. You can cook food in the witch's cauldron by throwing raw food in there, and it will boil it. Now, you'll get this swirling pattern, and you have to then, after a short while, right-click on it to get the cooked food out of the cauldron. It will then empty the cauldron. Now, you can empty the cauldron yourself as well if you want to with a bucket, and that will clear out some of the water from inside it. Now, if you add something to the cauldron and you want to get rid of the contents of it, let's say you messed up in one way or another, you can then just take a bucket and scoop out whatever you had going on, and it will get rid of what was in there. A more practical application than just cooking food is we can make mutundis from a cauldron. Mutundis takes an egg, mandrake root, and Exhale of the Horned One. When all these are added in the correct order, that being mandrake root, Horned One, and egg, you will then get mutundis after a short while by right-clicking on the cauldron. Mutundis can then be applied to plants to mutate them into a magical variant. So if we take oak, we can right-click on there and it will turn it into a flower, then it'll turn it into a birch sapling. Then, after that, we get a glintweed, which is a light source and a plant at the same time. If we continually mutate it, eventually we'll get a few other magic plants, including a rowan sapling. This is one of the 3 magical trees you can get out of the mod, that being rowan sapling, hawthorn sapling, and elder sapling. You'll want to mutate plants until you get all 3 of these and plant them. They will grow into full trees in the due course of time, and each one has its own use, so having access to their wood is a good idea. Also, getting yourself some ember moss, glintweed, and Spanish moss might be a good idea as well, as these are all useful, especially the Spanish moss if you want to get into poppets. With wood from the rowan wood, it's logs in specific. If you combine them with 4 stone bricks, Breath of the Goddess, a bottle of water, and Exhale of the Horned Ones, you can make altar. When you have 6 altar stones, you can place them together in a 2x3. This will create a completed altar with a carpet on top. If you right-click on the altar, you can see how much power it has. This power is proportional to the amount of plant life and nature around it. This is also then further multiplied by adding multipliers, such as candles, which will then make it go faster. Candles being either torches or actual candles. And then you can put other modifiers on it, like heads. Skulls will be the easier ones to get, and these also give it a greater multiplier, and we already have a power of 1,000. You need a lot higher power than just 1,000 though if you want to get the things you want. This power level can be achieved by making something a bit like this monstrosity. Now this monstrosity is drawing power from absolutely everywhere, and it is giving me 2,000 power, which still doesn't feel like a whole lot, but it's better than a kick to the teeth. Now some of the placements seems to be slightly sensitive of the items you put on top, but if we have them in the correct configuration of the skull facing forward and a freshly placed candle right down next to it, we can still get a pretty good power of 6,000. This still isn't as great as we'd like it to be, but it is not bad either. Now, one of the things to note of when trying to increase the power of your altar is just plant plants of every single kind around it until the power stops going up. As you can see here, it's 1 of 12. Then if we add in a melon, it'll increase by 12. We add in another melon, it'll increase by 12. And then after a certain point, it will reach the zenith of the power you can get out of the melons. And at that point, start adding different plants to the area to try to further increase the power. Now, altars gather power from plants near them up to 14 blocks away. This block over here is 15 away from the altar. And so the altar is actually getting currently no power. Once we happen to add a block next to it, that will give it the 4 power that melons give it. We can continually add these melons, giving it then 60 power. 14 times 4 is going to be 60, so it gets that 60 power from the 14 melons, and the 15th one does nothing to it. From melons alone, it appears that it can be charged up to 20 times from melons until the melons run out of influence. Adding more melons now to this system will do nothing. However, if we now add pumpkins, these will continue to give it power. This now being 100 power via melons and pumpkins. If we then throw the skull onto it in the middle there, that'll give it a times 3 multiplier, making it 300 power. Thus, you can sort of experiment and understand it from here. So now that we have thoroughly explored conceptually how altars work, let's get back to less nerdy things in our witchcraft. In our oven, we can also turn the rowan saplings, hawthorn saplings, and alder saplings into their own respective little essences. We have Whiff of Magic, Odor of Purity, and Reek of Misfortune. Now, you may still be thinking that the power that we can get from this system might not be enough, and that is true, it is not enough. We actually will be needing about 7,000 power. To get to there, we're going to have to make another item. That is the tombstone, made with a Whiff of Magic, a diamond, and a bucket of lava. Put those together, you get the tombstone. The tombstone can then be used in a whole bunch of things. You can make a fume filter out of it. This, when combined with the fume funnel, creates the filtered fume, which is just a slightly upgraded version of the funnel fume, making it so you get even more chances of getting your essences out of the whole deal. You can upgrade your candles into a candelabra by adding 3 candles on top, iron in a V, and a tombstone in the middle, making it a candelabra. And finally, you can make the chalice being made with iron nuggets, gold ingots, and a tombstone, giving you the empty chalice. When these are added to the altar, they greatly increase its power versus what we had earlier. Currently, we are at 6,000 with our setup, which is pretty good, but not as good as it could be. We remove the candle, it gets rid of that times 3 multiplier, so it doesn't charge quite as fast. We throw in the candelabra on top, and we get a times 5 multiplier, so it will charge very quickly. If we then throw a chalice onto that, we're going to boost it all the way to 8,000 in power here, making it so we get a lot more power out of the system, passing that 7,000 mark, which we very much need to pass for the next parts to work. But that will come in just a minute, because before that, we need to take a tombstone, Combine it with some gold nuggets, then get some iron involved with a clay jar. This will make the distillery. The distillery is then placed near a source of power, that being your altar, basically as all things should be by your altar at this point, as the altar is the power source for this mod. With the distillery placed, you want to take Breath of the Goddess, lapis lazuli, and quite a few clay jars. Put the clay jars into the clay jar slot, take the Breath of the Goddess, put it on top, take the lapis lazuli, put it on the bottom. It will then take power from a nearby altar to make the recipe go through. Once it is finished brewing, you will get out of it Tear of the Goddess, Whiff of Magic, Slime Ball, and Foul Fumes. All of these are useful. What we are concerned with the Tear of the Goddess. We'll take that into our inventory and we'll move on to the next thing we are going to distill. After that, we are going to distill Gas Tear and Diamond Vapor. This will give us Refined Evil, Foul Fumes, Reek of Misfortune, and Odor of Purity. We want to take the Refined Evil from this combination. Then, with our cauldron near a source of power, we want to take Mutundus and Netherwort. We want to throw in the Mutundus first, then throw in the Netherwort, and it'll become this nice red color. We'll start then just holding down right click over it while we wait for the potion to process. Once it is done its brewing, we should be able to get the potion out of it unless it's ran out of power, and then in this case it will turn brown on us, meaning we did not have an altar nearby of sufficient power. So now that we have power nearby, we will try it again to get it working. That being with Mutundus and Netherwort once more. Let it bubble up and get nice and hot, throw the first part in, throw the second part in, and now, this time we should get more favorable results, given that it has a powered system nearby, fueling it so we can get the Mutundus out of it, which does require 7,000 power actually to produce, as we can see here from the recipe, making it a fairly expensive potion to get out of your cauldron. Mutundus Extremis is like Mutundus, but it is more importantly used in other recipes, including this next upcoming recipe. For this potion, first we throw in the Mandrake Root. Many potions start off with Mandrake Root. Then we add in Netherwort, Tears of the Goddess, Refined Evil, and Mutundus Extremis. Do note the order of which you put them in is important, and their brewing book will often show you the correct order to go through when making one of these things. Such as the Drop of Luck here, it lets us know Mandrake Root, Netherwort, Tear of Goddess, Refined Evil, and Mutundus Extremis have to be put in that order, and then we will get a Drop of Luck out of the deal. With Drop in Luck in hand, we then want to make the kettle. The kettle is made with sticks, tombstone, cauldron, and string put together in this pattern here. You can then put the kettle down, free sitting, or attached in between two blocks, which gives it that wonderful little stick in between, which makes it look a lot nicer. Then with a heat source underneath it, and one bucket of water added to it, the kettle is complete and ready for brewing. So this next one is one of the final steps of preparation for this mod, which allows you to actually start doing the magic. And that is a potion that requires Redstone, Drop of Luck, Bat's Wool, Tongue of Dog, Belladonna Flower, and Mandrake Root. Throwing in first the Redstone, then the Drop of Luck, followed by the Bat's Wool, the Tongue of Dog, Belladonna Flower, and finally the Mandrake Root all into the kettle. Then, once this is done, we will get Redstone Soup out of the deal. We then take this redstone soup and a chalice both together. We place the chalice, then we take the redstone soup, we right click on the chalice, and that will give us a filled chalice. The filled chalice gives a lot more power, especially when it comes to multipliers. If we look at the current setup, we have 8,000 power coming out of it. If we remove the chalice, we get 6,000, but if we add a filled chalice, then we get over 9,000, giving us that wonderful 10,000 power from our altar, which we are looking for and desiring, and that is basically as much power as you'll ever need in this mod, giving us a very nice multiplier to this power. Now, power is all nice and good, you may say, but what can I actually do with this power? A lot of this stuff has just been getting me things till this point, what aren't actually doing much for me besides adding a bunch of blocks, clearing up my base, and a huge giant pile of trees. Well, this is Witchcraft after all, or Witchery, or Enchanted if you want to call it that. And in this, you want to have a magic flying broom. Of course you want to have a magic flying broom. How do we get this magic flying broom? Well, we make quicklime. quicklime is made from wood ash. If you take wood ash, you put it into a crafting table, it will just turn into quicklime. Now back to making the magic broom. If we take a broom, which is made with sticks and hawthorn saplings at the end, it will just give us a sweeping broom. A sweeping broom is not flying. We have to put magic into the broom to make it a flying broom. This magic requires us to distill things yet further. These further distilments require that quicklime we had and some foul fumes. We put the quicklime and foul fumes into the distillery, and that will give us gypsum, oil of virtue, and slime balls. We are not interested in the slime balls or the vitriol. Sorry, not virtue, vitriol. We are interested in the gypsum. If we take 2 gypsum from this process and put wood ash all around it and some tears of the goddess at the very top, we can then get ritual chalk. Ritual chalk can be drawn on the ground and then it can be cleaned up with the broom. But more importantly, it can also be combined in a cauldron to make further kinds of chalk. The kind of chalk we are concerned with right now is golden chalk. Now, to make golden chalk, you do need an altar with significant power nearby, and then what you do is you first throw in mandrake root into your cauldron, then a gold nugget, and finally a piece of white ritual chalk, and this will turn into the golden ritual chalk. You want to take this and the white ritual chalk and get to a nice big open area near your ritual altar. Now to note, your altar takes power in from a range of 14 and also it puts out its power to a range of 14. So that's something to pay attention to. One final thing we need to make before we can get going on to the magic is the flying ointment. A flying ointment requires the kettle again, and it is a bit of a kettle of fish to make. We'll need some more redstone soup, some potion of swiftness, a diamond, a feather, bat's wool, and belladonna. Throw these in the correct order as I just stated, and this will make a wonderful golden colored potion in your kettle. Right click on it when it is done, and you will get flying ointment, and we have everything we need now. So we go to our nice big open area, which is within 14 of our ritual altar, and we draw it out in a pattern such as this. Center being golden chalk, and then 2 blocks out, we want 3 in every direction, and then we just want to fill in the gaps. The secondary circles are not important for the moment, but you may want them sooner rather than later to get them laid out. You throw these both into the center, and if you have sufficient power, you then right click onto the yellow in the center, and it'll complete the ritual, giving you an enchanted broomstick, which you can fly with. Put the broomstick down, right click on to mount it. Forward makes you go forwards. Space makes it rise up. C makes it glide up. V makes it glide down. And it has a fairly okay speed, and it will give you flying. To dismount, press shift, and it will then drop down next to you lightly, and that is your magic broom. Now, we're looking at this mess here, and it's really hard to get our ritual chalk circle close enough to this to actually get the power to it. So what's our solution to this problem? There's actually a very straightforward solution to this problem, and that is simply building your ritual circle underneath your altar. So we drop down, and we drop down again, and we're still within 14 of the altar. That altar should have 1,000 power up there. We throw in our 2 bits that are required, get it going, and it'll complete the ritual for us, because it is close enough to complete the ritual. So that's basically my recommendation of where to put your ritual circle, is underneath your altar. Although you can just do some cheeky block placing to basically make a giant multiplicative power source, which doesn't quite require these requirements as much and probably would be more efficient for your space anyways. We have flying down. Let's do some voodoo. Now, unfortunately, this voodoo actually isn't voodoo, it's just poppet magic. Voodoo poppets don't seem to be implemented just yet, but the poppets are. To make a poppet proper, you're going to need spinning wheels. A spinning wheel is made with the tombstone, elderwood planks on the bottom, 4 rowanwood stairs, a stick, and some wool. Once you have your spinning wheel done, take a bone, take a flint, and create a bone needle. finally take some of that Spanish moss you grew earlier with a tombstone, a bunch of white wool, a bit of string, put that all together in this pattern here, and that will give you the Poppet. A Poppet is useless, but when combined in the spinning wheel with other ingredients can become quite useful. We're going to look at the Poppet of Earth Protection. To make the Poppet of Earth Protection, we're going to need Potion of Slow Fall, Mandrake Root, and a Poppet. We then put these items, ingredients into the spinning wheel. The spinning wheel will spin up if it has power nearby to make it run. It needs that altar with power nearby. And after actually having a fairly nice animation, it will give you an Earth Protection Poppet. Now, as I said, there are loads of Poppet recipes. You just press U on it, and you can actually see all the different recipes. We have the Armor Protection, the Void Protection, Earth Protection. We can make sturdy Poppets with their own benefits to making them. There are a lot of different kinds of Poppets. Each has their own purpose, and you can read up on all these Poppets in the Puppetry book. Puppetry book being made with Breath of Goddess, Alder Wood, and this list of things here, and it goes through all the different kinds of Poppets right here you can work and play with, as well as the Infused Poppet and Sturdy Poppet, talking in further details about those. So the Poppet, though, doesn't do anything even when you have it. You have to bind it to someone. To do that, we'll need a tag lock. Tag lock is made with glass and bone needle. You put those together, and then you have a tag lock. You then right-click the tag lock while shifting onto a bed that someone has slept on, and that will give you a tag lock of them. This is a tag lock of Lorthorn. We then put the tag lock in our offhand, the Poppet in our main hand. We hold down right-click. This Poppet is now bound to Lorthorn. So we have a Poppet of Earth Protection. So if we die due to hitting the ground hard, this Poppet has a 60% chance of saving our life. Closer to actually has a 70% chance of saving our life. So, Poppet will break, we'll get regen, and we won't die. There are some rules to engagement though, and one of those being the Poppet has to be in your hotbar. Now, it doesn't need to be in the hand holding it, but if you don't have it in your hotbar, then the Poppet isn't going to save your life from falling. Instead, you are going to hit the ground and become a greasy stain, like so. But if you don't want to be carrying Poppets around in your hotbar because they can flare up, there is a solution. You can create the Poppet Shelf. The Poppet Shelf basically extends your inventory of hotbars and is a rather expensive thing to make, requiring 4 attuned stones, some wonderful dark oak planks, has to be dark oak, and some green wool. And yes, the colors are important. You cannot just put them hither thither. As we see for the recipe here, it needs to be these specific types of wood and the specific kind of wool. Once made, you put it down into the world, and then you take one of your Poppets of Protection and you put it into one of the slots available on the shelf. It has up to 4 available per shelf you can put them for, and now these act as a proxy to your hotbar. So now it should protect us from our fall. If we have these in here, just trying to statistically increase the odds of me surviving. We have 3 in there, one of them with extra durability because it's a sturdy Poppet. And this time, when we take our Leap of Faith, we again trigger the Poppet, and we can see now one of the Poppets on the shelf is missing as it took the falling death for us. Alright, so now on to the fun stuff in my opinion. The Poppets are interesting. I love making death-saving items. Those are good. I would like a voodoo Poppet though, so I can poke needles into people I don't like. Shame that that's not there. So, on to the actual magic with some Quidditch. We'll just take our quaffle here, and we will be off. You can also sprint by holding control with the broom to make it go faster, which is nice. Try to score a goal here. Are you allowed to go through the goalpost? Must be. Right. So, if we go over here, we then get to our ritual magic site. And oh boy, there are a lot of rituals and a lot of magic you can do with them. Now that being said, there is not everything yet, as this is still a work in progress, and it doesn't seem entirely complete yet, which is fine. I just hope that it gets there eventually to being more complete than it is now, but it's still pretty cool what it has. Now, one of the incomplete bits, for me anyways, is there's nowhere in the book that tells you how to get rowan berries. And pressing R on them doesn't work. I was told you can get them as a byproduct from doing stuff with the witch's oven, but I'm yet to achieve them after quite a bit of experimentation. So if you do know the answer of actually how to get them, do let me know and I'll pin in the comments. Thanks. Rowan berry, with a magic, normal book stuffs, will give you the Circle Magic book. Circle Magic gives you instructions on how to do all the magic, tells you how to make all the different chalk types, the Infernal Chalk requiring Blaze Powder, Netherwort, and normal chalk, and then the Otherworld has pretty hefty requirements, actually requiring Netherwort, Tear of Goddess, Ender Pearl, and normal chalk. Once you have all these, you can start doing some rituals. So our starting ritual requires us to do something first, but I think everyone will enjoy doing this. And that will be taming a kitten, little kitty poo. Now that we have the kitty poo tamed, we're going to tell our kitty poo to come over here. That's it. And sit down in the center of our circle. We then will need a few expensive things, some demonic blood, odor of purity, tears of the goddess, a whiff of magic, and a diamond. And then what you do is you just throw these into the center of the circle with sufficient power and a cat in it. Right click on it to start the ritual, and this is the ritual of familiar. And this will levitate our cat up into the center of the ritual circle, and the little baby will get confused by whatever is going on. Oh, poor kittykins. And Mother here will turn into a black cat, and our new familiar with its own very cool, sleek textures, and this makes curses more effective. If we open up the Art of Witchcraft and turn to the page on familiars, we can click on cats, and this is cats are a common familiar seen around witches. Having a cat increases the potency of curses and removal of curses. Cats can be found and tamed in villages and swamped huts. And that is how we get our first familiar. Now, sometimes you want to cast magic on the go, and that will require a tombstone to be charged. To charge your tombstone, you basically need every single type of powder. We need brown powder, white powder, red powder, and yellow powder, plus the tombstone. We throw them into our altar, and it'll suck them all up under the supervision of our kitten here, and that will spit out the tombstone charged. The charged tombstone can then perform magical rituals of fun varieties. The first fun ritual we're going to do is going to require some Otherworld chalk, the purple chalk, and it needs to be placed on the widest circle. This being a 7 wide, then 1, 2, 3, 7, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yellow in the center, then with the tombstone plus Ender Pearl, Iron Ingot, Blaze Powder, and Diamond Vapor, we can do a ritual to summon iron to us. So we throw these all out, right click on the ritual, it will suck the power out of the gemstone, suck everything else up, then it'll go underground and look for all the iron that is below us, and it'll just extract it and give us a buttload of iron to work with, which I think is a very, very useful ritual. We'll basically get to see that the iron just gets stripped out of the stone. There we go. Practical application of magic is to mine iron without damaging the environment. Very useful. If this could apply to other resources, that'd be a very cool rite to cast. That is underneath the Translocation rituals, and this is a Translocation ritual for iron. I would love it if this could be done to other metals, probably with a higher cost, but still that would be very nifty. Now, further Translocation rituals will require a waystone. The waystone is made with a bone needle and a piece of flint. Combine those together just normally in your inventory, and you'll get the waystone. The waystone then needs to be bound to a location or bound to a player. To bind the waystone, you can't simply right-click on it or right-click on entities. Instead, you have to do a ritual to get it bound. Under the rites of binding, we can see the various different binding rituals that we can do. We can do it in a magic circle requiring 500 power. We can do it in a magic circle requiring no power and a attunement stone. Or we can do further things such as clone the current bound waystone using a second waystone and power in the ritual. We can do the bound at without power again using the attunement stone. and we can make bloody wavestones. We're going to make both bound wavestones and bloody wavestones in fairly straightforward manners. First, wavestone, attuned stone, ender dew, and wood ash in a white small circle will give us an empty attuned stone and a bound wavestone. If we take a taglock of ourself, a snowball, ender dew, wavestone, and slime ball, we will get the blooded wavestone, and this is a Lorthorn bound wavestone. This means we can cast some rituals at a range on this location or on myself. The very first and simplest ritual for us to complete is going to be the ritual of Translocation. This will transpose a player, and it's really quite a cheap ritual. This can basically be a method of fast travel. So you just need a circle of purple chalk in the small area, and the bound wavestone. Trigger the ritual, no power needed, and it will eat the wavestone and teleport you to where it was bound to. There are several other translocation ones. You can summon, you can teleport yourself to another person, so you can get to where they are. You can summon your familiar to you if it's missing, and you can summon entities to you if you happen to have their taglock. There are also creature rites. These can be quite useful. The first one is going to be the Rite of Imprisonment. So, it requires a normal white chalk circle. We'll go with the small size. And redstone dust plus slime ball with a power source nearby will basically generate this magical cage. Now we can walk through this cage just fine. However, this husk here can't. It actually can't get through this barrier. So we can run about, hey dealy day, and it can't get us. It's got this invisible barrier. If we want to dismiss this barrier, as it is constantly draining power, we right click on the heart of the ritual, and it will slowly fade away. Now, sometimes you don't have enough time to go scribbling about quickly, or you just want to make the process go faster. And there is a way to get this sort of done faster, which is you create a circle talisman. This requires a tombstone, gold ingots, and gold nuggets placed in this pattern here, and that will make the circle talisman. Circle's talisman does nothing from the start, but if you mess with it, it can do some pretty nifty things for you in the future. The simplest way to go about it is you have a normal circle going on here. You throw some redstone dust into it with your circle talisman, start the ritual, and it will delete the circle to let you then place it against somewhere else. To place it, you simply right click with it. It will place it down and consume the circle's power, giving you just a normal circle's talisman afterwards. This can be done with all sorts of different kinds of circles in all sorts of different locations to quickly just drop yourself a ritual if you have sufficient space. Now, if you don't have sufficient space, it won't place, but if you do, you will get a circle immediately. And basically all the different circle combinations are covered if you have the space. So there's our infernal circle, and if we could make the space, we could get a larger one, more useful on sewer flat in a quick situation, but still has application of being able to quickly transpose and place your circles where you need them to be placed. And all this can be found under the binding talisman. All this can be found under binding rites with a talisman. Now, another ritual, which I think you might like, because I quite like, requires obsidian and redstone dust. And this is the sanctuary ritual. Now, we can cast it normally on this circle here, and it will generate an invisible force field around the circle site. If we hold shift, we can slowly walk through it. But if shift is not held, then we can't travel through it. And given that only players can hold shift, only players can get through this circle. To dismiss it, right click on the ritual, and it'll be dismissed. Now, it doesn't need to be on this location. We have a bound location here. And so if we cast it as a bound ritual circle, then this site over here should have our force field on it. And dismiss that force field, we can form the right here. But what's very interesting, if you have a blooded waystone, obsidian, and redstone dust, this is where you can mess with someone. So this is bound to me. So we throw this in here, and this here. We start the ritual, and we're just walking along. But someone put me in an invisible box. What? Who did that? Finally, some rites to perform. There are a whole bunch of different rites of the world. We are going to look at a simple rite here, which is just a stone axe and some quicklime on a basic white circle, and that will turn day straight into night. Now, if you look at the rites, there is no daylight ritual. It just sets the time to midnight. Now, there are a whole bunch of other rites, like the Ritual of the Forest, which slowly spawns a forest onto the location, Sky's Wrath, which calls down lightning on a point, which can be bound to someone so they get struck with lightning, Ritual of Fertility, which heals things and cures villagers from being undead, which is quite useful, and finally the Ritual of Broiling, which basically cooks food into eatable food. And last but not least, on the various different rites we can perform, because we've gone over most of them, is curses. Now, curses are to target other players. You can cast them on yourself though. And there are a lot of fun curses, such as a curse of blight, curse of misfortune, curse of overheating, and curse of sinking. Now, these all require a medium-sized red circle to perform, so let's draw that out. Now, if you really want to ruin someone's day, and they live in a village, and you don't happen to have a tag lock of them, then you can do the Curse of Blight. This requiring Reek of Misfortune, Redstone Soup, Glistening Melon, Rotten Flesh, Fermented Spiride, Charged Tombstone, and a Diamond. Now, this curse should make these villagers all turn to zombies here, and it's poisoning our poor cats. Oh, goodness. So it's done to the land. But if you want to more specifically target someone with a curse, then there is a whole other list of curses to look at. We've got the Curse of Misfortune, which gives you bad luck, Curse of Overheating, which makes it so you overheat constantly, and the Curse of Sinking, which it's no Curse of Hallucination yet, but the Curse of Sinking is another one of my favorites. Makes it so you're heavier in both the air and water. It has to be performed during a storm. So we'll get a storm triggered. This requires take lock of your victim, brew of the grotesque, exhale of the horned one, an ink sac, and some netherwort. Throw these into the center of your fiery circle, this being the medium-sized circle. And it will give this horrible little effect here. And now I shouldn't be able to swim so good. Well, I actually can't swim at all right now. I can fly out again, but I can't swim. Also, my elytraing is severely impacted, making it very hard to elytra about. Now, if you happen to be cursed with one of these things, you will probably need yourself a cat to be more powerful than the person that cursed you, but there are ways to cure them. If you get Ritual Chalk, put it in the small circle, get some yellow going on there, get sufficient power nearby, take a look of yourself, Netherwort, Bone Meal, Breath of the Goddess, and Brew of the Depths. You can cleanse yourself from sinking. Each curse has its own unique cleanse you need to do to get rid of it. Cleanse of Sinking, we'll throw in Taglock, Netherwort, Bone Meal, Breath of the Goddess, Brew of the Depths. And it has one of the coolest animations I've seen, as we get these little stars form around the curse, and they're sort of like containing it and grabbing onto it and compressing around it. It all uses base game Minecraft particle effects to a really cool appearance. And then it rises away. Now we can float on water again. That's just, I think, a brilliant way to go about it. Right, so what are my final thoughts on the mod? I really like it. I like the direction it's going in. It feels a lot like Witchery. It has a bit of Bewitchment feel to it, but that's just because Bewitchment feels like Witchery. It's going good places. Definitely has a future. I hope it continues to get worked on because I'm really liking it. When the vampires come out, which are apparently going to come out at some point in the future, I'm working on it, I might cover it again if sufficient other stuff has been added as well, because I think the vampires are always a really cool part, especially if you throw in some demon summoning as well with that. I'll definitely take a look at it again and go over it again then. But yeah, I really like the appearance of it so far. I like how it's going. It's got some good looks to it. It's looking good. Rowan berries, can't quite figure out how to get them. Some other things to note that could potentially happen with it, which I think is cool, is if we click on Hawthorn, this is Hawthorn material is known for dispatching vampires, so maybe a Hawthorn specific wood sword would be good at killing vampires, or they can't pass through a Hawthorn door. I'd like that. Rowanwood gives you protection from malevolent beings. Maybe a hawthorn tree or hawthorn wood will keep demons out of your house or repel them. Elder gets rid of misfortune and repel negativity. Maybe if you're near elder trees, curses don't affect you. That could be a cool thing. It could just be descriptive for them, but I would love if the trees actually had effects to them as well. Art of Witchcraft, we see familiars is the creeper heart here, but we only have one cat so far in familiars, so there's probably going to be more familiars, which will definitely be cool to see in the future. Rowan berries again, can't figure that out. Ent Twig. This should excite people who played Witchery. The Ent Twig was awesome because you could use it to cast magic. So an Ent boss is planned to be added, and then you can kill the Ent boss and you can get the Ent Twig. Currently no recipe for it. But how it basically worked is you would actually draw a Patron, and then it would lock in place, then you could keep holding it down, and you could aim and cast a spell. And you could do spells from Harry Potter. You could cast Lumos, you could cast Nox, you could cast Expelliarmus, which was really powerful. You could knock basically someone's item out of their hand, which is awesome. You could cast Wingardium Leviosa, you could cast Alohomora to open things, and you could also cast the killing curses. So you could cast Serpent Centra on someone, which wasn't the killing curse, but you could cast Avada Kedavra if you found the forbidden pages, and it would just instantly kill someone. And the Ent Wand was so cool when you had it made, so if they make that, I'd be super excited to be able to cast the Harry Potter spells again in that manner, because it was so well implemented in Witchery. I loved that. We can see here, even a work in progress, we've got the item Enchanted Demon Heart. It's a giant non-textured cube. Circle magic, again, feels like there could be more curses added to it, more rites added to it. It's not as filled out as it could be, but I'd be excited to see more things added to it, more rites and rituals. That'd be very cool to see. I really do like the rites in this. There's also 2 different essences we don't have recipes for. We don't have Condensed Fear yet, or Maleficent Hunger. We can't actually craft those yet, but those are, well, it looks like planned out to be something, so that's also a very cool potential thing for the future. So I am very much looking forward to what is to come in this mod. If you can recreate Witchery in later edition of Minecraft, that would be awesome, because everyone loves Witchery. Witchery is one of the greatest mods of all time. I'm going to be covering it soon in the future, so that I'm excited to do that. But yeah, Witchery is such an epic, such a classic, such an iconic mod. You could become death in it. It was so good. And even if we can get a bit of that in later versions of Minecraft and Forge Edition, that would be great. We've got that a little bit with Bewitchment, but then Bewitchment kind of strayed in a different direction. I like Bewitchment, but it was no longer Witchery. So if we can actually get Witchery again, that would be just the best. Or something closer to it than what Bewitchment was. Because, again, Bewitchment is awesome. Becoming the Lich is really cool. With Besmirched, all the stuff that comes with it. I do like Bewitchment quite a bit. I just really want to see the things that's missing from Witchery in a newer version of Minecraft, because that would make me very, very, very happy. So, yes, this is an awesome mod. Do check it out. Link in the description, along with other links to Discord and Patreon, all that stuff. Check that all out. And thank you very much for watching. And until next time, and as always, goodbye.